The morning after. Oh my God. And when I heard that name, I thought, oh my God, this is a Saturday morning for me. And back in the day, I know what this would have been like. Sick, massive hangover. I mean, they were torturous. I would sit up in bed with a startle, throw the curtains back. Is my car there or not? I mean, that was the first question I had in my mind. And then there would be two thoughts based on that outcome. Yes, okay, thank God. What shape is it in? Or, uh-oh, where is it? And I'll tell you, that was the morning ritual. And I get a kick out of these. I love reading about when they pop up. I mean, it's not a hobby or anything, but when people have a cure for the hangover or how to prevent one, they're the funniest things. There's now this something you drink before you start drinking that's supposedly going to help you with the hangover. And I thought, you guys haven't a clue, do you? It's the next drink. That's what helps you over the hangover, for God's sakes. As they used to say, the hair of the dog that bit you. And it worked every time. You started feeling so much better right away. They just don't have a clue, do they? But the morning after today, now I wake up and I know exactly where I was yesterday, where my car is, where my wallet is, who I was sleeping next to. That's my husband. I mean, that wasn't always the case, right? So what a great way to start today, sober, one more day at a time at a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I am so grateful. I don't have to ever live those days again as long as I stay close to you in the middle of the herd and doing what I know to do for the last 49 plus years to keep my enthusiasm for Alcoholics Anonymous. That is what's so key to me. But I'll share a little bit of my story. So I was introduced to AA through a treatment program. I knew they'd made a mistake because I'm way too young to be an alcoholic. I'm not even of legal age to buy alcohol. And I think I always protested that there should be a baseline, that you have to have some minimum things like being old enough. But nobody ever paid attention to me on that thought. So I am in this by a court order. And obviously it wasn't because I had a couple of beers and had a little oopsie. No, not quite. But my father had tried all possible means. I had been now expelled from my senior year of high school for the third time, all because of my drinking. It's 6 weeks before graduation. And really, I met that with a shrug. Oh, well, stuff happens. And so I'm in this treatment center, and I'm going to be educated about alcoholism. I'm not getting it because I don't really want. I know that I'm going to drink again. I don't want to quit drinking forever. Oh, yeah. You go, it's one day at a time. And I always felt there was this big wink. We really mean for life. And I'm not interested forever. No, I'm too young. The fun will be gone, right? Life is over. So I'm 17 when I'm introduced to you on this. We would be taken on Friday nights to outside meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous. And Friday nights are my favorite day of the week, drunk or sober. They were always my favorite day of the week. They still are. And if this was a Friday, I was court committed and was dropped off by the police in this little treatment program in a little town called Grand Forks, North Dakota. I'm going to be there 7 weeks. Most people are there 4. I guess sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly is the category I was in, and the slowly. So I'm there, and we'd be taking outside meetings on Friday night. And I would sit in the farthest back part of the room I could get myself into because I don't want to catch alcoholism, because I know you can catch it. I'm pretty sure you can. And I don't want to catch it. So I'd sit in the farthest back part of the room. And of course, they encouraged me, find the similarities. Well, I'm not the brightest bulb in the room, and I know that, but I do know if you find the similarities, you might be one of those people. And I don't want to be. So I can sum up my story of drinking by all the things I found different. But the thing is, the mustard seed of identification began in my own teeny tiny way. I would hear people say, "Oh, I drank for 40 years." And I thought, hey, see, I'm here way too young. I got 35 more to go. We are way too young. I drank 7/5 of whiskey a day. That's what I heard. And I thought, well, I'm a whiskey drinker. That's a goal. All right. That's what I'm shooting for. I lost my family because of drinking. Bingo bonus. I want to lose my family. God, what a source of irritation they are. Just constantly on my drinking, constantly. But I didn't realize I'd been asked to leave their home because of my drinking. They talked about drunk driving charges. I mean, my God, some of you have had so many of them. You're really not very good at it. You should quit. And I could say I didn't have any of those because I worked for the city judge. This helps because when the police stop you, you know all the police, they know you, they take away your booze, tell you to go home. And sometimes I would, but most of the time I would just scurry around, find another dark alley to be drinking in because I don't know about the illness of alcoholism. I don't know that when I start, I really cannot stop. I looked at it as I don't want to stop. I didn't know I had lost that, and I lost that in my first night of drinking, set the stage for my future drinking. I didn't know about the obsession of the drinking until I came to you for earnest and began to see that difference, see what I really was made of. So I didn't have any official drunk driving charges. You talked about totaling out cars. Oh my God. You guys, you're not very, that you can't drink and drive very successfully, that's for sure. I figured that out really quick because I would say I've never totaled out a car officially. Every fender bender I got in, you could drive away from, and I did. Most of the time it was backing up. I had a bad habit. There were no cameras on cars in those days, obviously. And I knew to stop as soon as I got stopped. I ran into something and then just put it in forward and away you go, put it in drive. But I had a little drunk car that arrived to Alcoholics Anonymous. It got rounded out with the drunk bumps and things are missing and falling off, and the driver's window had been shot out at one time. And then my gas cap was a mitten I had stuck in there. Now, I don't know this, but they would say, you're driving a Molotov cocktail around. I don't even know what one of those is. But I was like, stuff happens. I lost it somewhere. I'm resourceful. That's how I looked at it. And so then you talked about losing jobs. And I had a series of jobs. Keep in mind, my jobs were not career starters. We're not going to start at the mailroom and work our way to CEO. These were drinking money producers, pure and simple. I wasn't interested. I had no vision, no career, no ambition at all. I just needed money to drink because I had tried to, at one time, I had a moment of ambition and I was going to be a drug dealer. Okay, I was going to make a lot of money. Now, I know you can totally see that, right? Totally typecast. Yeah, right. Well, there is a problem because I was my only customer. All right, so you're not going to make any money that way. So I had to work for real life jobs and pay taxes, those kind of things. But I would get fired and I would quit before I got fired. But the last year of my drinking, I acquired a bad habit and I would quit in a blackout. And this is a problem because you don't know you quit, so you go to work the next day, right? So everybody's kind of wonder, why are you here? And you don't know why you're not here. And oh God, yeah, ha, ha, ha. You try to pass that off and you're just such a loser. I just scroll out of there like a snake. And then there was, I heard in the rooms of AA, all the women who, their years of prostitution. And I thought, you can get paid for that? And I thought I could have had a little side job, right? But the things we learn in AA, it's pretty amazing. So I'm hearing all these things and why my case is different and why I don't belong here and all my excuses. And then there was a woman who talked about trying to scrub away the smell. Ooh, that got my attention because I've had this funny odor for about a year, and I really, honest to goodness, I don't know what this is. I've tried to puff, powder, and perfume it away. And when she said that was booze coming through her pores, I knew exactly what she meant. And I even knew I stunk, and I didn't know how to prevent that. And I thought, she knows what the smell smells like. And if I'm not careful, I might be one of those people. So I was sent from there to an all-women's halfway house right away. If there had been any time out of there between that, I would right back to drinking because I knew I wasn't done. I knew I would drink again. I didn't know the when or where, but I knew I would. So I went to Minneapolis. This is where I was sent to, and I went to an all-women's halfway house. I'm there a total of 9 months, but the first 7 months I did the barest minimum, which was don't drink. Makes sense. I knew it meant all those other things. People are trying to put their life together and go to one Alcoholics Anonymous meeting a month. Well, when you're not working, you can kind of fit that in. But even that, I trimmed to the bare minimum. I'd walk in when it started, leave when it was over, got her done. I checked it off my to-do list of the month. And that's really how I treated it. Yeah, keep your little pieces of paper because that's what we all wrote on it at the back in the day. Keep your little pieces of paper because I'll never use your number. Give it to someone who might care. I'm not one. They say you hurt a lot of people when you go back to drinking. So back off. Back off. I'm going to be drinking again. So save yourself the time. And so 7 months go by. And I went to visit my mother for 2.5 weeks, who lived in San Jose, California at the time. And I'd be there the first week. I'm hanging out with the people I used to drink with. Who else would I hang out with? And the last week and a half, drunk and loaded with them. No surprise. But the drinking was a surprise. I had lived 7 months in the fantasy of the booze, the boys, the bars, the woohoo party on. And it couldn't have been any more different. I picked up a drink. I had a couple of drinks of something. I haven't a clue what it was. I don't even know what my very first drink was because it came out of a brown paper bag. Didn't matter. It was booze. That was all that mattered then and the first drink. And I took a couple drinks and it just went dark. My memory, the next time I remember anything was a week and a half later on the flight home. I really, lie detector test could not tell you what took place. And that got my attention. I've never had a week and a half of a blank out, brown out, white out, gray out, whatever color you want to call it out, but it was no memory of that time. And I am just so thankful I was with people that took care of me, knew me, and so forth. And I went home and I thought, whoa, I've learned my lesson. Now, if you'd have said to me, say, do you have a sponsor? Oh, I don't need somebody telling me what to do. I desperately did, but I would have wasted their time. Have you got a big book? Oh, yeah, it's around here somewhere. My big book was so unused, we could have resold it for new. Okay. Do you have a home group? Oh, I'm not a joiner. Oh, no. No. So this is how I returned to you, and I ramped my meetings up from one a month to one a week. Okay. But I did the same thing. Walk in when it started, leave when it's over, got her done, check it off. 5 weeks later, on a Friday, I got a letter in the mail from these friends in California. And it had one joint in it. Now, I know this is a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, which I deeply, deeply respect. And if this story had no point to it, I wouldn't bother telling it. I had no idea that this would be the catalyst for me to kick me off the fence of reservation and indecision. But it would be the thing that did it. I don't call drugs alcohol in another form. I don't do that because they aren't for me. They never did what alcohol did. They made me go up, down, square, circle, purple, red, but booze was consistent every time. The deep exhale once you took that first drink. So they are not of the same kind to me at all. They are another character altogether. Booze was consistent. The only reason I took any kind of drugs was to elongate the drinking. That was it. So I get this one joint in the mail, and I decide to keep it just in case I might need something like that. Now, I don't like pot. Pot's in the same level of boring as wine. Oh, for God's sakes. If you want to get downtown, plan on it next week. But I'm a girl that wants to get downtown right now. So I'm a whiskey drinker, and I take some speed and acid. So buckle up, baby, because we're going to get there quicker and in a color. I mean, that's my kind of deal. So that's where I'm headed, and that's what I enjoy. So this pot is like, what a bore, but it's there. It's there, right? I didn't go looking for it. I'm just like this innocent recipient, and I'm going to keep it just in case I might need it someday. And little did I know I'd need it the next day, right? Wow, what timing that was. So I did not know, this is February 7th, 1976. Little did I know that from how that day started, how different it would be by the end of the day. Because before I lit that match, I was going to tell the same old lies, keep the same old secrets. It's none of their business was my attitude. And the minute I lit that match, the conflict within me began. And it grew and grew and grew and grew to the finally when it was all over, it felt like the scene when we see an atomic bomb. It doesn't hit the ground, but it explodes just before, and there's this flash of white light. And that's what I felt on the inside of me, this flash, nanosecond flash of a white light. And then it just levels everything in its wake for miles. And what it leveled in me was all the excuses, all the yeah buts, all the I knows, all the you don't understands, the I'm too youngs, the I didn't do that, I didn't do this. It leveled all of that stuff, and being altered in any fashion became like repulsive to me. Ugh. And I had this weird magnetic pull to those people in AA because they seem to know what to do. They are clearly living a life that seems to have joy in their life, seems to have happiness and contentment. I don't know how you get that, but you're attractive to me. So that's what I had my psychic change happen that day without a prayer, without deal making with God, without asking for that at all. And I went to the meeting. So the next day is Sunday, and I had been going to a Sunday 6 o'clock meeting. I still go to one as by the way. And I went to the meeting. I decided to go early. I went 20 minutes early. Oh God, you'd think I was going like the day before. Who goes 20 minutes early? Well, if you're in an active home group, 20 minutes early in person is late. We're on our second cup of coffee. Somebody has to be there watching for that new face walking in the door. Because that new face might be 2 hours sober or 20 years sober and has never been there before. I have a responsibility to be there to welcome them, to make sure they have a warm experience, welcoming experience for the meeting for them tonight. So I get there 20 minutes early, and I begin to have this new experience with AA. We call it the music. I heard the music, the laughter, the chatter, and the conversations going on. When you walk in when it starts and leave when it's over, you don't hear any of that. And if you had said to me, do you go to AA? Yeah. Well, I hadn't a clue that all I was getting was 1/3 of the pie. Because there's two gives. There's the give before the meeting, the give after, and the take in the middle. So 2 gives and a take is a pretty good formula for me. From prayer to prayer, I'm on the take. I'm refueling. I am connecting to the spirit in this room in another way through your messaging. And so then I began to feel the heartbeat of the room of AA. The handshakes, the hugs, the pats on the back I saw. And I went to the long timers. I knew who they were. I usually avoided them, but I went to them now. And I said, so like, what do you do to stay sober? And they're like, oh, she's asking a question. Okay, well, let's share with her what we do. And they shared with me 7 things that have been my guidelines. Have I done them perfectly? Only the first one. But the rest of them they have been my guides and my goals and what I strive to be like on the Natch. Number 1, they said 1 day at a time, we don't take the first drink. And I knew it meant all those other things. And we get a sobriety date. And I thought, well, today's as good a day as any. Okay, February 8, 1976 it is. And that's still my date. If that was a white piece of paper that day, it still is. There's no smudges. There's no ink blots on there. There's no, gee, I wonder if I should count when I did X, Y, or Z. No, there's none of that. No question mark to my sobriety date. And that is very important to me. And that is my foundation. It had to start with an honest sobriety date. I don't have 2, like once I quit any kind of outside things and once I stopped alcohol. No, 1, done. I got to keep it simple, let me tell you. They said that we go to a lot of meetings and we get a home group. I've lived in 4 different parts of the United States, so therefore I've had 4 different home groups. And I've been involved in all of those groups in various service positions and so forth, and they've all meant a lot to me. And I realized that when I moved here to Northern California 25 years ago now, that I've also had 4 different last names, but that's kind of a separate side story. So back to the home group. It doesn't mean that I didn't ever want to change home groups, but they said 2 things. Number 1, if you leave because of a personality, there'll be another personality at the next group and the next one and the next one. And you're going to run out of groups. And guess who the common denominator is? Yeah, you're looking in the mirror at that. Secondly, it's just easier to stay and just pray for them. I thought, okay, I can do that. So I would pray that they would find a new home group. And that's how I felt good about that prayer thing. So that was my home group, and I'm an active, invested member of the Primary Purpose Group in Dublin, California. It is a commitment, not a convenience. My home group is about a 30-minute drive away, and people will treat it like I'm driving to Nevada. You know, they'll say, isn't there something closer? Yeah, there's a lot of meetings closer. There's even a few good groups that are closer. There is a difference. But when I made the commitment to make this my home group, not because of convenience. I made it because I know exactly every week the solid foundation of recovery that's going to be presented, the commitment of the people there, the involvement, the seventh tradition contributions are strong, the general service is strong, the intergroup's strong, the hospitals and institutions committee is strong, sponsorship. I mean, I just love what we offer. And it's not based on convenience. And that's what I encourage people when I meet them in their new. I said, take a look around, spread out, go to different places. Don't just go because it's nearby and just stay there because it's convenient. If it's not going to help you grow spiritually and in the program, you're going to stay exactly where you are, newish. So then they said that we get a sponsor. And I have really been blessed with 4 great sponsors. I had Marguerite in Minneapolis. I had Joe in Atlanta. I had Millie when I lived in Southern California. And then when I moved to Northern California, I stayed with Millie. And when she passed away, we've been together 33 years. That's a long time. And within 2 hours, I called my current sponsor, Marilyn S., to have a conversation about sponsorship. And we've been on this path together for 5.5 years now. And it's a wonderful journey to be with her on this. So I also sponsor on what I call my 3 legacy sponsor. I take the people I work with through the steps, the traditions, and the concepts. It's not an option. It's not if you want to. No, it's not an option, because if you want me as your sponsor, plan to get an education on Alcoholics Anonymous. Plan to be a part of the worldwide fellowship, not just in your little chair, in your home group, in your town. You're going to get ready, because we're going to expose you to the worldwide fellowship. To me, that's so important, because again, my life was so itty bitty tiny when I got here, it could have fit on the head of a postage stamp. Now, the map is my home group, the map of the world, and it is ever growing. It is a joy to be a part of this worldwide fellowship. So I'm with sponsorship, I pass it on, and they're expected to pass it on. And if they don't want to do that, then you don't need me as a sponsor. And you'll just feel guilty every time you call me because you're a deadbeat. And I don't have time for deadbeats. I don't want to invest in deadbeats. I want to invest in the people that have a heartbeat and want to give this away and get going. You can be a deadbeat on your own couch, not mine. They said to me that we take the steps. And I use that verb specifically because that's what chapter 5 uses, is that here are the steps we took. You're ready to take certain steps. And taking them feels very different to me because it's like internalizing them. And I have taken this step several times. I'm not somebody who is 1 through 12, 1 through 12, 1 through 12. It feels like all I'm doing is spinning circle, circle, because there's 2 other legacies to learn about. And the great thing about the steps is the 12th. The first 11 can be used with the changing this word in the first step, can be used in any anonymous program. But the 12th step is the uniqueness to the Alcoholics Anonymous program. I'm to help the alcoholic who's still suffering, try to carry the message of AA to them. I'm not going to be very effective to the drug addict only. I'm not going to be effective to the gambler, to the debtor, to the non-alcoholic. I'm not going to be very effective, but I can be effective with the alcoholic. And that is my responsibility as the 12th step. Once I get to there, it says, hey, you've had a spiritual awakening. Now time to help somebody else have that too. And that's my responsibility as a member of AA. They said that we go, those traditions, they're not just for the group. You're a member of a group. You need to know how they apply at group level. And oh, by the way, why don't you see how you can apply them in your personal life? Gulp. Because I had self that I brought to the table of any relationship. What's in it for me? What am I going to get? Am I going to like it? Am I? And you taught me how to take that mirror down in front of me and realize there's other people out there in the world, because all I could see was me. And so by going out and applying the traditions of my life, I began to grow up. For God's sakes, it's about time, right? I had to finally become an adult, and these tools of the program helped me do that. These beautiful 12 traditions. There's gajillions of books out there on how to have good relationships or how to do's. I don't know of a better set of tools than the 12 traditions when I put them in my personal life. They said that we be of service. And service, they were clear, you always had a commitment in your home group. Otherwise, you could not call it your home group. They made that distinction really clear. And because otherwise, if I'm going to be a taker, then I'm just an attender. But I needed to have a commitment in my home group, not optional. But what they were talking about is the inconvenient stuff, the outside, okay, the stuff like general service or intergroup or hospitals and institutions, bridging the gap, public information, cooperation with the professional community. We can go on and on with the alphabet soup of the committees in general service or intergroup service. That's what they were talking about, because all of those things widen my world into meeting and introducing me to people I never would have met had it not been for that service. And we always need people in service. If you are bored, you come see me. Basically, what you're doing is you're saying to me, I'm lazy. I want to be entertained on my couch. No, time to get off the couch now. Let's go. Let's go. We need people. We need the resources of people willing to go and do. And you will be lit up if you do that. I guarantee you that. And then, so service. So I've gotten to do service in many, many ways. I've always had a commitment in my home group. Service, this is a form of service. This isn't as early as sometimes, but I'll tell you what, the hardest service, the willing to go beyond any length service to me is like when they ask you for a 6 a.m. or 6:30 a.m. meeting. Oh my God. Do they realize what time I have to get up? I don't wake up looking like this, okay? So this takes focus and coffee, and you got to have this alarm set. I mean, this, especially on the weekends, these are my sleep-in times, so to speak. So this is the service willing to go to any lengths. And but again, would you go to? I always have to remind myself, if that's where they said the booze and the boys were, would you be there? Oh God, yeah, I'd be there early. Wait, hey, where is everybody? Right? So I need to be willing to go to any lengths for my recovery that I was willing to go to any lengths for drinking and dying, ripping and roaring. And the other thing they said to me was that we carry the message. Carry your message. Everyone on this call has a message to carry. You would be able to reach people I never could, and vice versa. This is why we're all so necessary in how we carry the message, or what your experience and story are. We will all be ways of, they always say we're an example, whether it's a good one or a bad one. I hope I'm a good example. But I've certainly, I don't want to give the impression that I arrived here and my halo was attached and my wings put on. No, I have not. I am not Clarence from It's a Wonderful Life, and I've earned my wings. No way. I am someone who's still on the path, still trying to improve my relationship with the higher power, which is beautifully established. But I heard progress in spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection, and that's really what my goal continues to be today. I've moved 3 times since I got sober, and if you've ever moved, I pretty much probably can guess what your first thoughts were. Oh my, they're not doing it right. I know. It's amazing how they've stayed sober till you got there, right? No, they've been doing just fine, and they were fine before I got there and after I left. They're still going on. And this is what I have to remember, is that it's not wrong. It's just unfamiliar. The same 12 steps are up there, the same 12 traditions. Hopefully the same, the concepts are more and more. We're growing on getting the concepts up in groups, because they are an incredibly beautiful legacy. I know they might seem like legalese and gobbledygook and eye-rolling things, but if you have a good guide, you will see how beautiful these 12 concepts are and how applicable in your life, in your group they are. Probably already applying them. Just don't think, well, this is our application of concept 4. I mean, you probably don't think in those terms, or the traditions in that way, but many of us are already using them. But there's such a beautiful legacy for us. But I hope that something I've shared has sparked your interest to get more active, create your own enthusiasm, instill your love for Alcoholics Anonymous. And if you love this way of life, show it. Don't just say it, but show it. And with that, I think I'm just about out of time. So I thank you for your time and attention. Nice to be here today. I'm out.